So, say you've got a friend and they recommend a restaurant, raving that it's the greatest dining experience on earth. And then another friend chimes in saying it's a low-budget place and it somehow outshines Michelin-starred giants through sheer creativity and passion. And then a third friend chimes in saying eating there has cured my IBS and it's shaved a minute off of my mile runtime. So naturally you think, I have to try this place. And then you finally do, and it's great. It's not perfect, you know, you still have lower back pain, but it's a genuinely fantastic meal. Yet somehow you leave with a tiny pang of disappointment, because if it hadn't been so hyped, you probably would have loved it even more. I'm not talking about a restaurant, by the way. Hype is a very powerful yet double-edged sword. When a game like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 drops, coming from a brand new AA studio of only 30 people, and it earns the highest Metacritic score of all time, with critics and fans calling it a masterpiece, your expectations naturally soar. But that's the danger. When expectations reach the stratosphere, even amazing can feel like a letdown. That's why I think it's so important that we talk about new games with nuance. You know, celebrate the good, sure, but keep it grounded. That way, future players get to enjoy the game for what it is, not what it was promised to be. So, with all of that said, how do I feel about Clair Obscur Expedition 33? This is the greatest video game I've ever played. No, seriously, I am going to be gushing about this game for the next 20 minutes. I loved everything about it. The characters, the gameplay, the setting, the score, oh my god, the score. But above all else, the story. This is a phenomenal story, and it's one I do not want to rob anyone of experiencing it fresh. So this video is going to be a little bit different from many of my others. We're going to go deep into the opening act to sort of give a broad feel for the game, but once the plot kicks into gear towards the end of Act 1, you'll probably need to call me Claire because I'm going to start being very obscure. From that point on, we'll focus on trophy pops, maybe some highlight moments, and absolutely no context. So, grab yourself a bevvy, strap in, and let's paint our way through the Expedition 33 Platinum Trophy journey. So we start off in the shoes of Robert Pattinson, only if he was French, dying, and voiced by Daredevil. Naturally, we roleplay this moment with total maturity befitting a story about grief.
Let's go. I'll accompany you there.
We take a brief pause to soak in the view here, because the game is flexing its painterly aesthetic harder than Bob Ross on a bender. Now, Mael, our friend here, wants to have a duel, so we open that up with an absolutely devastating 49 damage slap. Keep that number in mind because it's going to get a little bit higher. So within this fight that acts as a tutorial, we learn how to parry, and you can't actually fail the parry timings here, which is a bit of a problem, because I spend the rest of the game chasing the high of that beautiful counterattack, even if it kills me, and it does, often. We finish Mael off with Gustav's signature overcharge ability, kicking the game off with a lovely left jab to a 16-year-old girl's face. Now we meet Sophie, cheerful, chipper, and very aware that she's about to die. Huge fan of that. Also, pretty luckily I was warned about this mime that you find within the first 10 minutes of the game. If you miss it, you will have to complete an entire second playthrough to get one of the trophies, which is like French mime levels of evil, the absolute worst kind. Against this creepy thing, we nail all of our parry timings, yet somehow still take damage. This is a recurring theme. You see, the timing in the game is wrong. I'm not wrong. It's the game.
For those who come after.
We finish off the mime. Sophie has some choice words for us, even though the situation was completely under control. You just need to calm down, Soph.
Someone built this.
This section of the game ends with the paintress ominously painting over the number 34 with 33, which causes everyone over the age of 33 to, well, no longer be around. This includes the unfortunately 34-year-old Sophie. So Gustav, handling his grief, does the only reasonable thing. He drinks, because if we linger on any emotional beats here, they're going to absolutely destroy us. So go ahead and fill up your cup, Robbie. We wrap up the prologue here by fighting a 16-year-old girl once again, having a foreshadowing moment with a future companion, and it ends hopping aboard a ship to sail off to adventure. Here, Expedition 33 officially kicks off, and it's pretty much all downhill from here. We step off the boat and meet a frail old man with a cane, who then proceeds to John Wick nearly the entire expedition. So I'm guessing the cane was kind of just for show. After this sequence, Gustav wakes up half dead, half paint, and 100% regretting every life choice. We soon encounter the Nevrons, which is the bad guys in this game. Pretty simple first lesson: shoot the glowing thing, nail a perfect parry, and feel like a god for exactly 5 seconds. We soon run into Loon, our first party member, who paints a very stark contrast in traversal, as she effortlessly glides ahead of our struggling French asthmatic. We also grab our first level up, which of course we churn into Might, because defense is meaningless when you just parry everything perfectly, completely avoiding damage. What I meant by that was you can avoid damage completely when you parry everything perfectly, eventually. The reward for our incredible display of combat perfection is a full-on embrace of French culture. Play magnifique. Now, more pumping into Might because it's definitely going to pay off, maybe. And we find our first boss, which we encounter with Loon at a whopping 1 HP. No problem at all though, that's 1 HP more than she needs, because we are going to defeat this boss without taking any damage for a trophy. Now, in case anyone is using this as a loose guide, don't do this. This was so stupid. It was a huge waste of time, because later bosses basically become 5-second sequences requiring the pressing of 2 buttons. So don't get this trophy here. Anyway, next up is a haunting scene full of fallen comrades. Fortunately though, we are appropriately dressed to really absorb the emotional weight of what's happening here. We find our first of many expedition journals we're going to need to grab, and we meet the first friendly Nevron. Now, a handy guide for these guys is if it's pure white, it's all right. If it's not pure white, it's going to be a fight. Then we get a moment of absolute tragedy. We accidentally pump Gustav's stats into agility instead of might. There is absolutely no place for that nonsense on our squad, so Gustav's basically gonna be benched after Act 1. Sorry, mate. This game really knows its audience. It lets us live out the ultimate male fantasy, playing as a beautiful, graceful ballerina gliding effortlessly from point A to point B. This is what peak masculinity looks like. Finally, we encounter another survivor, our third member. He might not be our third member. To avenge Leo, we find our first story boss and get our first taste of parrying clearly telegraphed attacks, which engages a happy chemical in the brain. I wonder if all future bosses are going to telegraph their attacks as friendly.
For those who come up.
Gustav wraps things up with a glorious 4-digit overcharge that definitely could have been 5 digits if we hadn't crippled him with agility. And then we get information that Mime has gone off to go play in some coral caves. We get our first dungeon-related trophy here and pop out into the overworld, gliding towards Mime's last known location, where we find our first paint cage. These are just small puzzle chests hiding some loot behind, arbitrarily shooting 3 semi-hidden paint clusters. We grab that trophy and then we progress through the suspiciously breathable underwater biome and find the entrance to a mansion. Sure, but why not? Inside, we finally meet Mime, who's just hanging out in the creepy mansion, you know, playing the piano. Things that 16-year-olds do.
Look up here.
She's also managed to make friends with a spectre, because stranger danger is a foreign concept to this world. We have a quick tussle with said spectre, who teaches us a new type of attack to counter, and then out of the mansion we meet Noko. This spooky Shakespearean gremlin serves to inspire fear into us and point us to where more plot is going to happen. So we meet up with the boss of this area to find our new party member just casually tosses out nearly 8,000 damage while we grab her trophy. What an absolutely insane damage number for someone at level 12. Mime's questionable friend provides us the ability to upgrade weapons and distribute Lumina points. Now, Lumina points are... that doesn't matter. We've got another trophy here for watching Luna shred a guitar, and then it's off to the next story area. We do a bit of gliding, a bit of fighting, and we run into a new Mime, who hopefully has some nice new gear for us. We get to the boss of the Ancient Sanctuary. We beat the boss of the Ancient Sanctuary, and we get the trophy for the Ancient Sanctuary. Next stop is Gestrel Village, which is a village full of Gestrels. Here we meet Golgra, who tasks us with fighting in her arena. The final contender of which actually ends up being a survivor of the expedition, and it looks like there's nothing around to impale her, so she is actually going to be joining up with us. Mime here shows our new friend Ciel her Gerbos power, and Golgra gives us the password we need to enter our next story destination. We go ahead and provide the password to the guard at the gate.
Get out of my way!
Jeez.
Mime, already at the damage cap, makes quick work of the enemies here, and we run into Eski, the most wonderful deity I've ever encountered in a fantasy story. Like, listen to this guy speak for 2 seconds and tell me you aren't ready to follow his teachings for life.
Who's Flory?
Now, we have found Eski because we need him to swim us to the Paintress monolith. But, Eski can't swim without his rock Flory, which has been stolen by his nasty old neighbour Francois. Negotiations with this testy turtle break down, and he melts Gustav with the most powerful ice attack ever. Nevertheless, we somehow prevail and return to Eski with his prized rock.
Flory. That's not Flory.
What do you mean that's not Flory?
Ha! I never had Flory! Your rock is still on the Stone Wave Cliffs!
But he got me good.
Alright, well, we have our next destination in store then. The Baguette Trio assaults the Stone Wave Cliffs and finds themselves facing off against the incredibly creepy Lamp Master, who acts as our first foray into two-phase fight. We barely scrape by here, hanging on by the skin of our teeth to finish the section, and then the plot happens. Like, lots of plot happens. So just to very quickly summarize what's happened here. Shoot, Act 2's already starting. Alright, moving on. That's our next story trophy, and finally, thanks to the rock we retrieve, we can swim. Moving right along as plots tend to do, we arrive in the next dungeon to meet up with the the boss. Now, I want you to pay close attention to his health here, pre-Mael's first attack. Pretty telling what's going to be happening for the rest of the game. We leave the Forgotten Battlefield, which is well named because honestly I forgot we were even there, and it's off to go see Verso's best friend, aka the absolute best character in the game. You know he's the best character in your game because he has the best theme song in the game. Noko runs in after our showdown, and Minoko provides some gentle parenting in response.
No distraction, son. I'm really busy beating up strangers.
So we face down a frosty quadruped for our new bipedal friend, and then Verso and he negotiate him joining the expedition.
Okay, bye.
Hey, come on, hey.
I will never join you again.
There will be a lot of fighting, though.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
There will be a lot of fights.
Exactly.
Count me in then.
Fortunately, that negotiation goes quite well. We run into an optional boss here that has absolutely zero respect for the first word in turn-based combat, allowing us to grab Verso's combat trophy as well as forcing it to embrace nihilism and give up on trying to crush us. We take a wrong turn here to find an enemy we definitely weren't meant to yet, before we jump back on board the plot train. Along the way, we grab Best Boy's combat trophy, and it's finally time to fight the two Axons. I totally forgot to mention what the Axons are. That's on me. So basically, the Axons are, we've finally arrived at the Paintress's monolith. Oh hey, that's Clair Obscur from that video game. What was it called? And we grab a boss-related trophy and a story-related trophy. And we've now earned the ability to bypass the damage cap. I wonder what was hiding behind Mael's 9,999 damage hits.
Oh my god!
Also, our Lord and Saviour now has the ability to fly and dive, which grants us his last trophy, and it's time for the Endgame, my friends. Now, this last act consists of cementing our friendships, granting us the 5 relationship-related trophies, polishing off the last few miscellaneous collectibles and gear-related trophies, and we get to take a fun beach-themed holiday to go play some gestural minigames, consisting of climbing beyond the skybox, platforming over the water, and some very enjoyable volleyball. Fun fact about this minigame, it was programmed by the game director himself because he wanted to create his own version of the horrible Final Fantasy X minigames. So the reason that you'll hate this minigame is because it was designed to make you hate it. The last gestural gauntlet involves speeding through a small platforming section that we handily clear with 0.63 seconds left to spare. Absolutely easy work. Next on the chopping block are the optional bosses, starting off with the incredibly imposing and terrifyingly named
Simon.
There's another game that you might not have heard of. It's another RPG from a few years ago, and it had this really cool optional boss called Melania.
And I have never known defeat.
Just that whole intro just inspires fear into you. This game's uber terrifying boss, his name is Simon. Anyway, Simon has some ridiculously nasty attacks, and I actually found that Mael was actually super close to one-shotting him. So with a little bit of fine-tuning, we grab the easiest gold trophy I've ever been granted. And this causes the remaining bosses to fall over like dominoes. grabbing that illustrious level 99 trophy, and it's finally time to finish the plot. Alright, basically, okay, so what's happened here is, and that's the end trophy. So, finally, here we are. Semi-naked Monaco, one collectible left, and the swirling feelings of just having played the best game I've ever experienced. We grab the 43rd platinum on the account and finish a absolute masterpiece of a game that I really, really hope you will try out. As always, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. If at any point in the video you did exhale from your nose slightly heavier, please do me a solid and smash the thumbs up button, as it really helps the channel grow. Massive shout out to my amazing channel members. Please know that your support means the world. And until next time, have an incredible week, and I'll catch you for the next one. Ciao.